Welcome to another moment. A moment I have chosen to give you information that concerns the state of your world, especially now that events are turning crazy. It is a moment that is necessary for you to give all attention to, listen to, in order to understand what's going on in your world that you don't understand and why. This moment is so important because it forms the basis in which decisions, individual decisions, will be taken to safeguard the existence of humanity so far. Because when you look at the trend of events, it is very obvious that the human race at this point is at risk. And the reason is going to be explained very clearly. I would like to say at this point that wherever you are listening to me from, whether you are in America, or you are in Asia, or Europe, are you in Africa? I would say it's all the same. All you need is to get the information that I have chosen to let out. In this session, I have chosen to first of all visit the issue of God. In previous sessions, I have handled the aspect of who God is. So you might have to see how you can make reference to that. But at this point, in this session, I will be dealing with the aspect of what God is. What is God? Those are questions that have arisen amongst men because they are questions that are imputed in the instincts of man to help find out the purpose of his existence and somehow get inquisitive to want to know about his source. That has been in the question for so many centuries. Unfortunately, it's not a question that has the answer that can come from man. Because man is just a product of a deity. So, it is that deity that would give the explanation to his existence, why he brought him into existence. And perhaps you might be very lucky to just have stumbled into a moment as this one that might give you a clear perspective of what has long been misunderstood or perhaps most specifically misconceived. First of all, I would want to say, when you listen to my way of expression, my way of speech, I am not in a hurry. I take it quite slowly, so I'll ask that you bear with that. In addition to that, I want you to tolerate my accent if there is any. And for lack of words, perhaps my language. One of the things I would strongly want to suggest or advise is the fact that if you are in a continent that do not understand English, because I'm speaking English, I would advise that you seek the assistance of somebody who understands English so that he can explain in clear terms what I have said. because everybody as an individual needs this information so that it will inform your decisions henceforth, because that is what is going to help the situation as you see it right now in the world. Everybody is panicking, and I'm wondering, how would you not panic when you don't understand what is going on? It is an understanding of what is going on, no matter how bad, no matter how terrifying, that helps you to calm down because you understand it. But in this case, you do not even understand what's going on. Yet, there are a lot of various conflicting interpretations based on conflicts of interest and many times rivalry, which in the real sense of why it is so does not arise. So I will first of all want to introduce the aspect of what is God? That question, what is God? It's a question that you will most likely tie to what your origin is. I would relate what God is. What is God? The question of what is God to the question of what is government. It's like asking, what is government? What is God is just like asking, what is government? And let me go a little bit into what you already are familiar with, the government. The government is an expansive entity. It's a large entity, extensive and expansive entity. But there is always a leader. Somebody must function in it as a leader, from the president to the subordinates, the other offices. So you can see that the government is not one person. It's not a person. It's a large entity. It's a huge entity. But a person must be put to run the affairs of it. And that person, by virtue of the authority or power given to him, he will operate in that capacity. So when a government is established, as you know it, and a person is elected into the office of that governance, that person has a full rights to operate in the capacity of that authority, in the capacity of that power, the government. And that's why when you refer to the government, you refer to the people in power, the person in the office of that governance. That is the government. The government does this, the government doesn't do that. You are referring to the people there. But in the real sense, before there were people in the government, there is the government. Before you can appoint somebody into the government office, there is first the government, the office of the government. Now, take it back to the question of what is God. The question of what is God, just like I've explained what the government is that God is a name, is a huge entity. That is why when you describe who God is, it's in that personality of that huge entity. But this is not who God is. I've already explained who God is, but I will revisit it so that I can connect it to this aspect, because there are other aspects I want to visit for proper enlightenment of the situation that is going on right now in the world, so that you can understand the perspective and know what's going on and relax. And also take measures to to follow up, find your direction properly, because I will not give you information that just serves you as information. That's just knowledge that it's of show. You are just showing what you know. No, I will give you information that would grant you a direction. And I will explain further what that means. But let me finish with the issue of God, what God is. God is an entity. It's a huge spiritual entity. But it's a spiritual entity that is created by the ultimate power, the ultimate force, the ultimate deity, the ultimate spirit, the Lord. But he brings the office of God that he will establish for somebody to function in it. So when you're asking, what is God? God is not necessarily the source of humanity. God is the source of who God is. When you have God in your midst as a person, which I have also explained in a previous session, God as a person, which must be before you can find solution in the midst of the situation that you are seeing, his source is God. The source of the person that functions as God is what God is. So you have first what God is, and then who God is. But in this complex scenario, this complex program, behind this complex program is the one who established it, the Lord, the Spirit of creation himself. So when you look at government, you discover that the source of those who operate in the office of the government is the government itself. So the source of their power is government. So when you sit down to talk about the government, and you're automatically referring to the person in the seat of power of government at the same time with the government itself, you see that there is a merger. You are talking about two different entities but merged together. The person in the office of governance and the government that gave him the power, that gives him the power, the authority. So also when you look at the structure of what makes God, it is a combination of what God is as an entity, the power where the aura is, and then the person that is going to be functioning in that office. That is why when you look at governance, you discover that the person you call the president is not actually the president. He is the person that is in the office of the president. So the president is actually the government, and then the person functions in it by some kind of appointment. Popularly, you do it by voting, which is just a blind kind of gamble. And you now have people evolving through it. That is why you have terms that they serve. This person comes and serves 4-year term, 8 years term, That's because that is how you evolve through it. It is not the person. It is the office. The power the person has is coming from the office. Until he is in the office, he has no power in himself. That is how, first of all, what God is the entity that he creates, the Spirit creates. Then, what makes the totality of the person you see as God is because He is now the one chosen to function in the office of God. So now when you refer to God, you refer to a combination of the person and the office. So you have what is God together with who is God. So the question of who is God is actually meant to be answered by you looking for where God is. But you cannot look for what you don't know. So when you look at the events that are trending with you right now, you will realize that you need God to handle the situation. But the question now is, where is he? Where is he? Where is the God? He has to be somewhere. But the most critical aspect of it is he has to be with us. I have dealt with that, but I'll touch it a little. I want you to understand, first of all, that humanity was brought into existence for a reason. There's a program. The one who brought humanity for a purpose that he did not discuss any of it with humans. So he's a spirit. He sat down, decided all that he's going to do. And so what he decided to do was first to bring man into existence as a human person. But man as the spirit that would give rise to men by way of procreation. So I said from the beginning that the reason for this information is because humanity has gotten to the stage where everyone is at risk. And the reason is simple. You are all contending with the Lord, your creator, and with God, your maker. How is that? I will explain to you. The one who created this universe, you cannot look at the way the universe is created, the way it's made. The enormous creation that is embodied in the whole universe. If you travel as wide as, for those of you who travel, if you travel as wide as you travel, you will be able to question or wonder how the one who made all this would have looked like. He's an enormous deity. He's a huge entity. He cannot be toyed with. The question is, do you want to say to yourselves that the one who, without consultation with you, decided to make this whole universe and bring you into it, are you saying that he's not capable of taking care of it? Do you want to say that the one who created this universe did not consult you, but brought you in, but had a program within himself to start with you and still finish, like you all say and we say together? He is the author and the finisher. So what he begins, he will be able to finish. But while he's having his breaks for certain things, certain events, to take time to evolve, to come to his timings, which also no man can know, you are busy trying to take care of things, trying to set things, to bring solution, yet you have not taken any break to ask yourself, could it be what we are doing that is causing the more contradiction and controversy? Because take, for instance, amongst men, there are different establishments, different institutions that are assigned to different duties, different assignments. They have different responsibilities, different duty posts. For instance, the army has their own area of service. The navy, they have their own area of service. The police, the air force, all the institutions. Find out what happens when the police discovers that the navy wants to do their job. Find out what actually happens when the military discovers that the navy is encroaching into their own job. Find out what happens where the Air Force just discovers that another kind of military, another kind of agency has been introduced, and therefore their nature of work looks like they want to take over their job. Find out what happens. There is contentions amongst them. You will not dare to let somebody come tell you how to do your job, much less take it over from you. It doesn't go down well with those parties. And you want to say that the one who created this universe and is able to do things the way he has designed to do them cannot until you take over his job? That's the risk you're taking. That's why I tagged it, you are contending with your creator and with your maker. The creator of this universe is the Lord, the overall spirit of the Lord. He brought you first as man, but made you subject to sin so that you can never be the one to foster solution to his creation. So everything that you are venturing into, like you know what to do, the confusion you face right now is actually because you have gone too far. You have gone too far. Right now there is panic everywhere. The people, the followership, is blaming the leadership. They have already, as much as they would always misconceive the struggles even that exist with the leadership, the leaders don't really know what's happening. They're only evolving through the confusion that they find themselves in. They didn't put themselves there. And that's why when I described in one of the episodes, making reference to a particular Bible passage, Romans 8, 19, 20, 21. You see there where he says, the creature, which is you, the creature was first made subject to vanity. He says, not willingly, but by reason of him who have subjected him to it. Which means the way he started the program, in him he knew that the man he has made, he has created, is going to be so ambitious, inquisitive, in spite of the fact that he's the one initiating every system that he introduces him into. He will be inquisitive enough to want to see how he can take over the whole project and become God himself. So he initiated a limitation by way of sin. He imputed sin. That sin is to limit him. And he limits you to the point where he urges you to die. So that no matter what level of strength you show from the early stage of your living, you would be going weaker by the moment. That's a strategy. It's not like he can't keep you alive eternally, but he can't in the state that he brought you first. So he still has the process going on, but you are too busy trying to take over. His next phase is that he will introduce God I am talking about the spirit that started creation, the Lord, introduced man, who he operates by the spirit of man. They are humans, but by man. So that's how he introduced humanity into his creation. So as a human being, you have the spirit of man operating in you. So whatever you are able to do, he chose that you do it. But when you overdo beyond what he expects you to do, he complicates the issues for you until he comes to help you. So it's not going to leave you like this, but it has to depend on the choice you make right now. Apart from the fact that it wasn't your choice to be where you are, but you have gone so far that it has to become a choice you have to make by the time he brings you the option. And the option is going to be that one he had to redeem you by, God. But he didn't tell you how God will come. And that is why when you see how you refer to God, or what you refer to as God, you will clearly see that's a misconception. You do not know who God is. You haven't seen God before. So how did you name him? Where did you get the name God from? Because you didn't bring yourself. You neither are the one that's going to bring God for you to know the name that he has to bear when he comes. So how is it that you have never seen him? Because there's a portion there that tells you no man had seen God at any time. It doesn't mean that no man can see God. It's that no man had seen God for as long as he has not permitted that to happen. But there's going to be when he will permit that to happen, because you have to see God, have him around amongst you for him to be able to help you within his capacity that he's been chosen to function amongst you as God, the one in the office of God. It doesn't matter whether it's somebody you have known in your midst before, because you never ever know the purpose for which he was born when you knew him, because it's a divine program. And therefore, when this time is due, the appointed time, you see that he brings in the elements of that God showing forth, manifesting forth, making him now different, because it's time for God to show up in the midst of men and take charge of the situation. So God is going to be a person just like you as man are a person. The spirit of creation introduced humanity into his creation through man. So men are a product of man, and God, being a person, is going to be a product of God, not man. So as man is a spirit, that is how God is a spirit. But the spirit that operates with God is completely different and more highly advanced than the spirit that he made to operate with man. The one that operates both is the Lord, who said, I am both the first and the last. And the first is man, and the last will be God. And that's why he said, and the last shall be first, and the first last. Because the superior spirit that he wants to run the world with and put everything in order is the spirit that will be in God, and God will be a person. So when he says God is not a man, and all of you in unanimous understanding, in unanimous agreement, also have believed and agreed that God is not a man, that concept does not say God is not a human being. That concept is saying in explicit terms now that I'm explaining to you, that it means God is going to be as you look. He will look like you, but he is not you. The spirit in him is not the spirit that works in you. Therefore, do not dare to treat him like you treat man, your fellow men, because he is not a man. And that warning is because when he will arrive, you will not even have an idea that he is God. Because the way he will be so simplified will form the mystery for which what will come out of that one is what you had never believed that will come out of any man. That will tell you who God is. And that's why he says, my coming will be like a thief in the night. A thief in the night, if you will agree with me, is that thieves don't only operate in the dark. So what does the night mean when you have to understand this spiritually? It means it's when things are done the way you'll be looking at them, but you cannot understand. You can't clearly explain them. That's the night. He won't let you know, but he'll be there. Then he would have a way to let those who should know before it spreads. So much as it is the sin of one man that brought sin unto every other human being, where is the man? Nowhere to be found. But right now he says, by the righteousness of one, and you will see that one, because without the availability of that one, you cannot attain it. But it is still the influence of the Spirit that made sin to be imputed in all men without letting you see the one, that will still come and let you see the one by whom he will use spiritual influence to spread righteousness to all. So let it be clear to you that the reason what is going on the way it's going on, and the intensity that it is now trending with, is not because men are at fault. It's because the program of creation is at work, and you are doing what you are doing to obstruct it. You are interfering into the program of the Spirit, and the anger of the Spirit is raining bitterness, anger, which now translates into what you see as consequences. Consequences only now because you don't know what's going on. But that you don't know what's going on does not mean that you are not doing anything wrong. That's why you have to bear the consequences of it. But I want to assure you, when it crosses the era of consequences, when he would have let you know that he's around you, and you still decide to ignore him and continue to do what you are doing, ask yourself, if consequences by reason of the fact that I do not know what it is are as severe as it is right now, what would the punishment be when he would have let me know and I choose to ignore it? He's not a force you can fight. In spite of the fact that he will look human, you should be sure what works with him is not what works with you. You should understand that. So my emphasis today is letting you know that humanity is at risk. And the reason is because you are all contending with the Lord your Creator and with God your Maker. Because he created you without actually giving you a form that will make you live in order. So you don't have form. That's why there is disorder everywhere. There is no part of this world that you don't have disorder. If you've not seen it yet, it's coming. Because that is the instrument he will use to bring you to your knees so that you would respond to God, who he will present to you. And right now, I have already informed you that the information I will give you will not leave you without direction. So the hundreds of thousands of money, let me say money, let me not call any particular currency, the money you spend, which is what you live by right now. I want to ask you, you spend those monies to travel to go see sights, to go meet, see things, just meet with people, have some leisure. Can't you actually take that chance to go look for, find the information properly and gain direction and look for where he is? He is the only one that can set things right. He is divine. The reason you vote people into power is because you want to check who has the solution for you. And I want to also tell you the reason those people enter into the office of power and they almost always refuse to leave is because they've seen that the situation is beyond any human can say he has solution to. So why the hell do they have to leave the office? For the person will just come and enjoy the privileges that he has enjoyed. So he doesn't want to leave those privileges, especially that the toes he has stepped on. The only way to protect himself from them, perhaps their vengeance, is to stay in the office. Because when he leaves the office, he has left the power. He won't have the influence to initiate that level of security upon himself. Coupled with the fact that even if he leaves the office, nobody can come and solve the situation. They understand that. So you don't blame them for that. So you have to understand that because those people that you are looking at, they are as dead as you. So why call a dead person, a blind person? He's as dead as you. He's as blind as you are. He's as lame as you are. Because whatever you do all together, it has been destined to become vanity. He says, as you look at every structure, as the edifices, the beauty of how they have built their world, he says, when it comes to show down on them, he said there will be no stone that will be left on top of another that will not be thrown down. So why the hell do you walk your ass out to establish in a world that will eventually end up in vanity? Why don't you have to spend that energy in looking for first that solution before you have what you will establish yourself on? So life, as you see it, has not come to man. Life as you know it, when you look at what man is exhibiting, is not life, it's death. Death. Man is born dead. So he has nothing to offer into whatever he does to sustain himself, to stay alive. It's not possible. The only one who can come and reverse that is the one that has been anointed divinely. It's not this kind of thing that you look at your clergymen do. They tell you they are anointed. That's not what I'm talking about. This one will not have a voice to tell you he's anointed, but you will know. He's born that way. He's born with it. That's his destiny. So he would have to come establish destiny for every human race to have a destination. So what you will simply have is a destination. Destiny is one man. When you have to have a destination to a place, that place must not be duplicated. If everybody's destination is to the United States of America, United States of America will not be two United States of America. It will be one. So that forms the destiny for everybody's destination. So when the person of God, which is God with us, and remember, God is a combination of the entity that is so massive, like you have professed to know how strong and powerful God is. That's because that is how massive his entity is. Then he that created that entity called God, that office called God, is now the one to now appoint somebody, which is that elect you are using to do elections. An elect is not obtained through human elections, human balloting. An elect is obtained when the divine deity, the Lord of creation, brings a person to you people and show you this is our God. That tells you you can never separate him from that entity. So there's no way he would ever have a tenure expiring from that office, because his life is different, and that is meant to serve in eternity. And that's why you are told you didn't establish government. Government was a system that was established by the spirit of creation. You only came as he put you there to evolve through it, but never allowed you to be the one to form the basis of the solutions that will arise from the the problems he creates, he initiates. He initiates the problems. He allows you to evolve through them. So the complications are as a result of the fact that he knows how complex his initiations are. But you want to maneuver yourself, navigate yourself through it. When you tour into a facility that you don't know anything about, without having a guide, you will have your journey complicated, because it's a complex environment. So you need a guide that will take you around so you don't lose your direction. Today, every human being has lost his direction because he attempted to navigate his way through a world in a state that he has no guide. So the guide is God. Right now, your journey is complicated because you found yourself in a complex environment, a complex world that you don't know how to navigate, and you attempted it yourself. So when you attempt a complex situation without having a guide, it turns complicated. Now, I'll quickly go into some references that I'll use to point out some clarity of facts here and there, to buttress the fact that you are dealing with a deity that didn't give you the responsibility of that thing you are doing, and you are just going ahead to act like you know what to do. Let me give you an instance that will help you. All these instances are in the Bible, your Bible. You go find them. Find them. It's a book for all. It's not a book for a particular religion. God is an entity too big that you cannot lock him up in the box of a religion. He's not God for a religion. He's God for humanity. So, the spirit that created that does not have any religion in the program of God. He only allowed religion to evolve for him to sustain the confusion that will not allow them to take the place of God. So as much as you navigate around to get complicated, to complicate your state, he initiated that, because that complication will keep you wandering till he arrives to help you, because you will never find your way out of it. So it's a structure, it's a strategy he has. And let me continue to emphasize with just what I've said I will do with these references I'll make. One of them is, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. And he says, who can know it? Who can know it? It's somewhere in Jeremiah. So you go find out. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? The question I want to ask you is, who is carrying the heart? It is you. Who created the heart? Is it you? Of course not. Now, where the heart is located, that is functioning, who placed it there? Is it you? Of course not. Now, the function of the heart as a deceitful aspect of the body, a deceitful instrument. Who is using it? Who made it deceitful? Who made it impossible for anybody to know how deceitful it is? That is enough to tell you you are not in control of what you do. He gave you a heart and is functioning with it, but the heart is in you. So you are not the one functioning with the heart. He is the one functioning with it, because it's him that created it. It's him that placed it in you where it is. It is him that is deceiving you with it. And yet, he makes you go around thinking that you know what you're doing. That's the height of deceit. And that is always making me ask that question. When you talk about deceit in humanity, how did it come about? Because there is no human that is born knowing what deceit is. He's just born to see deceit, to experience deceit. So deceit is originally introduced for whatever reason he introduced it, which is of course good for him because he has a purpose for which he introduced it. He is the one that knows. The second one is where he says they have eyes, but they cannot see. Are you seeing that? Who did that? Who made it so? You didn't create yourself. You didn't give yourself eyes. He made you, gave you eyes. How could he not let you see with the eyes? So most particularly, the eyes he gave you, he decided to choose what you see with it. So if there's what he doesn't want you to see with it, he locks you off that. So he gave you eyes and also regulates what you see with it. The same way he gave you a heart, and by reason of deceit, he uses it to make sure what he makes you to do by that heart is a deceit that keeps you off accessing the things he has hidden for the one he will approve to be God amongst you. That's the strategy. So are you going to say now that the people that you are judging, the matrix, the government, are they not in the same boat? Are they not in the same situation that you are listening to right now? Just as you that is suffering under the government. Perhaps if you do not know, for him to make the pain that he wants you to cry off so that he can hear the cry and now know that you are ready to let him help you, should come from that hierarchy too. So he created the hierarchies to be able to achieve that. So no matter how you cry to the hierarchies, they don't have solution for you. Neither do you have anyone for them. And that's why they just listen to you, just scream around, make your noise. But they don't bother because they know that you have no solution for them. What the hell are they going to do with your shouting at them and judging them? You have no idea what's going on with them. So do you see? Do you now see how the complication of the issue is? I want to bring in another one. He says, a man's life does not consist in the abundance of things he possesses. And I want to ask you, what's happening now? What's happening now? I can assure you that at the time he made this statement, that's exactly where a man's life is. That's where he put it. So he doesn't make statements to clearly make you know that you are there. No. He is very sarcastic because he knows that you are proud, you are arrogant. So he used sarcasm to keep you where you are. And I will continue to give you facts to it. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of things he possesses. Let me ask you, if you are grown up enough, facing challenges, needs, you have bills to pay, you have challenges that demand that you spend, you have resources to spend for them, and you don't have any source of it, how do you feel? You feel dead. You feel like the world has crumbled around you. You feel dead. You feel that you are not alive. But the moment you get a job, and a good job for that matter, and you begin to earn things, you can buy a car, you can buy land, you can buy a house, you can travel as you want, you can get anything you want. You feel alive. You get up every morning excited to go to work because you make money out of it. You get your things, your resources out of it. You are glad, you are happy, you feel alive. The day they fire you from that job, how do you feel? Are you now going to say that truly this statement confirms that that's the life you have? That a man's life does not consist in the abundance of things that he possesses? I can assure you, the moment he made this statement, he was sure that was where he locked you. That your life as man will depend on what you have, the abundance of things you possess. That's because you need him to come and redeem you from that condition. He set you up there, but hoping that you come to terms with it someday and now let him That's how supremacy is shown. He shows you by that strategy. He is supreme. What are you going to do about it? That's what he has done to you. What are you going to do about it? You just have to let him because you have no choice. Are you ready to let him? I'm not done yet. Let me just finish the piece. The next one I want to bring to your knowledge is that's peculiar with those who claim to be preachers, to be called. They are called to go and preach the gospel. But he said, go ye into the world and preach the gospel to every creature. My question to you is, as you go, are you a creator? Because he said, preach it to every creature. Yet, you that is reading it, you are a creature too. Because the only thing that qualifies a person to go preach to every creature, which every man is on the face of the earth, is that you are then a creator. Do you now realize that you need the one who is the creator to be amongst you to distinguish you from every other person? Are you hearing a voice that is alive? Or are you thinking that this, could you be thinking, can you assume that the voice you're hearing is dead? It's alive. Can see. And if you want to see, that's where you connect to. You connect to it. Go ye into the world and preach the gospel to every creature. So let me ask you, when you take up that mantle of going to preach the gospel to people as creatures, what do you think you have said by that action about yourself? You are saying you're a creator. That's why you see your preachers behaving like God before you. Because that's what they declare themselves to become. But I want to tell you that the meaning of that expression is that I did not send you. I didn't send anybody. I have just made a statement to see how you are going to function because you are arrogant. So you have taken to the fact that because you have schools you learned from, you feel you could read, you could now interpret things. Therefore, you can go ahead and do what is said because you understand it. You damn don't understand anything because he never spoke to any man. The next one. He said, that's where I enjoy his sarcastic expressions. You know, he has already declared somewhere in the Bible there, in the New Testament, that a corrupt tree cannot bring forth good fruit. A corrupt tree, an evil tree, it can't bring forth good fruit. Then he says, if ye, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children. And I ask, really? Really? You have already been told that there is no possibility for an evil tree, a corrupt tree, to bring forth good fruit. So there is none good. Yet, he is now saying, you being corrupt, you being evil, know how to give good gifts. That's because he has seen that that's what you claim to be. That's what you present yourself to be. Yet you are not. So he's helping the sarcasm to blow up in you. Can you really accept that? But you see, you will just assume because you are reading it from the Bible, but you damn don't know what you read. The Bible wasn't written for you. That's why when you read it, you complicate yourself with the interpretations. You didn't write it, he wrote it. And he had a purpose for which he has written it. So where an evil tree cannot bring forth good fruit, where the hell is he referring to? You being evil and at the same time knowing how to give good gifts to your children. What the summary of that expression means is that it is those your gifts that are causing destruction to your children because you are all evil. Now, that's not my judgment. I am only giving you a direction. The direction is simple. Everything you do amongst yourselves cannot bring you solution. what you come together to do, like you come together to vote but divide yourselves and cause more confusion amongst yourselves, is that the one he has brought to you, that will lead you, that will show you the way, you will never have to vote for him, but you will have to look for him. Because if you don't locate him, all your leadership is a mess. Remember, the government you have in your hands is not a government he established, but is a government he initiated. It's a system he initiated. You climbed into it and evolved in it and tried to build a tower that would reach heaven to make you the God. So he's breaking you down by it because it's not you he's giving his support to. So you establish what you call democracy. And what is democracy? It's the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I repeat, and let it be clear, the distinction. It is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. Where is God inside of it? And to surprise you more, because you are blind, you don't see it. When you finish your voting activity to elect somebody into that office, what do you do to do that? Go and read Matthew chapter 5 verse 34. Matthew 5:34. What is written there says explicitly, swear not at all. That is the first introduction of that passage. Swear not at all. Matthew 5:34. Before he went into the details of don't swear by the hair of your hair, don't swear by whatever means, because you cannot make anything to work. You can't make your hair gray or that. So, when you look at that instruction alone, that you say you believe in God, and it is God that you hope to help you, and that Bible is the Bible you say is God that wrote as a book of instruction for you to follow. And when you are now going to do what is governance that you expect him to help so that it will extend to the people, you do exactly the opposite. A complete disobedient, a bold, arrogant, disobedient act against who you say is God to you. You swear into an office. And then you say it's God that made you win an election to put you in an office that make you do an act that contradicts his instruction. Which God are you talking about? Now you know by crowning it with this, my conclusion, that you are in a sacrilege. That's why your world is like that. So if all of you are supporting that same act, that the God you believe in, who should help you, says, swear not at all. And now you are going into an office that you say you established, and you do swearing as a ceremony. In other words, you are slapping him straight to his face. What do you think he will do for you? Send you help? He will send you hell. And that's exactly what is staring at your face. And the reason it has not come to that hell state yet is because he is waiting to inform you to be aware, so that you will not say you did not know. Because under the Spirit, much as you have in your own laws, ignorance is not an excuse, which also should not be an excuse, because you cannot know a thing and ignore it and choose that you should be excused. Because ignorance means you know, but you chose to ignore it. So it's not that you don't know. But under the law of the Spirit, the principle of the Spirit, I did not even know is not an excuse. Because the reason the world is suffering today, humanity is suffering today, is because they did not even know what they are doing wrong. But now you are hearing a voice that is helping you see that you know, you should know. You should remember. That's a sure thing I'm saying to you. That if you do not think of what to do to locate him, I mean the person, he is here with you. He is around with us. There are people who have seen him. If they haven't, if the people have not seen him, this information will not come out this clear for you to hear, to show you issues that are gone wrong. Therefore, It's up to you to know that if you look away from this information, if you throw it away, if you treat it like you treat every other thing that seems to expose the fact that you are doing wrong, which is not because he wants to condemn you, then you have determined to face him with your contention. I hope you had a good listening.